What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to the Pitlane Podcast, episode number 35. We thought we were done for the year, but no. There is one big item of news that came out yesterday. You would have heard of it by now, unless you are literally living under a rock or a very, very, very casual F1 fan or viewer. But you're back with your usual host, myself, Cal, and Tom. And today, it's all about the Nico Rosberg retirement and that empty seat in Mercedes. So we're going to talk about our reaction to Rosberg's retirement and then basically just some silly season antics about who we could potentially see replacing them. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, it was a big shock to everyone. I think the Twitter timeline literally blew up of just everyone was just shouting, memeing, everything under the sun.
To be fair, I don't know if you two or not, but I was on TweetDeck, Twitter, whatever. I was looking and I saw the article come on straight away. There was Andrew Benson and then motorsport.com, someone else. And I saw the initial two articles and it just went, breaking, world champion Nico Rosberg is retiring. And I was like, wait,
Hang
what?
on, I read that wrong.
A world champion, and he doesn't want to go get another one, and he wants to retire now at 31, which, in Formula 1 terms, is quite early.
Yeah, fairly. I think I'd say the average retirement age about 35, but yeah, I didn't see it immediately. Actually, I was at uni, so I saw it maybe about an hour afterwards. So literally, I just checked my phone and then just scrolled through at people shouting. I didn't know what they're shouting about, so I kept on scrolling through. Eventually, saw the actual news. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was about accurate for me as well. I was finished school, went straight to work, started working, doing bits, and then. Like 4:30, I was like, okay, I just got a bit of a free period, so I'm just going to quickly just check my phone. I'm like,
damn!
What? Yeah, just.
Well, he's the first world champion since. Oh, I want to get this right. Is it? No,
I don't even know when it was.
Prost. I think it was Prost. Someone said Mansell, but I don't think it is Mansell. I think it was Prost that retired when he won a world championship. Which is not something you see
a lot. I mean, there's been a fair named greats that have done it in the past. Obviously we had Hunt, which is probably one of the more famous ones, just because of the whole season before that. But then even Jackie Stewart was he came out today. I think it was his interview came out today in an article saying that he thought it was he was surprised by it, but he thought it was wonderful that like he did, he made that decision on the top. Obviously. He did it for different reasons in different circumstances. He mentions that in the interview that back then, obviously, there was that aspect of, I just don't want to continue on because the sport's really dangerous and I could get killed the next year. But obviously, Rosberg's, obviously these days, for Rosberg now, it's a family thing. And I think me and Tom very much agreed upon it before, off the podcast, that we've seen it anyway, that Rosberg's a very family-oriented person, and he's unlike other drivers, unlike Hamilton, unlike, I don't know, just the party goers of the grid, like Ricciardo, Verstappen, maybe the youngsters. Rosberg, even though he's fairly young in terms of F1 and in terms of in general his life,
he's very settled.
He's very settled. Yeah, that's the perfect word. He's very, very settled, and he's got a big thing like that to look forward to, I guess. He said that he didn't like spending so many nights away from his family, not being able to take care of his daughter. I think it's great for him. I think it's really, I really, really respected it and enjoyed the fact that he took this decision very personally and went, I'm here on the top. See ya. I'm going to enjoy my family life now. Bye. I think that's great for him. I actually think it's absolutely fabulous.
It's very interesting as well, because the only other driver you could probably say who's not on the grid anymore is Massa. Massa is another family-orientated driver, and obviously Massa carried on going on to quite a later age, the more expected retirement age. But as much as people like to shut Rosberg down for being a pussy, for running away from the sport because he knows Hamilton is easily going to beat him next season, and he knows this, and he's just fearful of losing it. It's like, what's wrong with him retiring? He's achieved what every F1 driver wants.
Yeah.
That's the World Championship.
He's got the goal.
You see with Button, he said, I don't mind leaving the sport now because I've got what I achieved.
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, although I've tried again for another championship,
yeah,
still got one under his belt.
And with that, Jenson, he got the title, and he said that, and he got to the point where clearly you could obviously tell he wasn't enjoying it at the end of this year. So it's also that factor of, okay, Rosberg's got his title, he's got his childhood dream. and he wants to end his career to a point where he can always look back at his F1 career, and the last memory will be winning the title and enjoying his amazingly dominant car right at the end of the season, throughout the entire season, obviously with great reliability as well. And it won't be a case of looking back at like Massa and like Jensen. Unfortunately, like last couple of years, thinking, I fell out of love with the cars and the actual racing itself. And the last, in case of Jensen specifically, was his last race win was back in 2012. And as Tom mentioned, like the last podcast, no one would have thought that would have been the case of like being that. So Rosberg's literally just cut it off, and he's now got a great snapshot to look at, basically.
Just drew a line.
Yeah. I do agree. Oh, you have to respect it. It's an incredible call to make in your career. So you only have one career in your life, and to make that call, that's massive. But you might have seen my eye twitch when Cal was saying something about calling Rosberg a pussy and all that. And to be honest with you, I hate some of the stuff that has come out on social media, I could go fully like explicit, uncensored here, but just to keep within the confines of being somewhat respectful. Why do you watch Formula One? Some people. Why do you? What is your purpose in life to question someone who wants to call it quits after winning the World Championship and then questioning that World Championship as well? I mean, me and Arif and Callum weren't the biggest Rosberg believers, but he won the championship. Let him have his moment.
Fair play to him. You can't not.
What is your problem?
Stand that down.
The fact you can go on social media and you have the balls to say he's scared to defend his championship against Lewis Hamilton. You should be ashamed of yourself, and that's an embarrassing statement to make.
Yeah, I think almost Hamilton's like disappointed in a way because he's like, oh, I can't have a go at trying to take it off, and
that's what
a lot of people said like bowing out is best because he's got the championship. No one's going to take that away from him. No one can take away the fact that he won the 2016 World Championship because he had the most amount of points, and you can't challenge that as much as you'd like to. Motorsport, you cannot challenge that at all.
That fact was the exact same. I had a family member messaging me because he's somewhat into F1, but he knows obviously I'm hugely into F1. So he saw that news. Obviously, he messaged me. We're like, oh my god, I can't believe this. Like, what do you think about it? And I was like to him, it's that all I've said before about family etc. But literally just what Cal pointed out. The fact that now Hamilton doesn't have, or no one, in fact, not just Hamilton. I don't know why we're just literally talking about Hamilton. No one, the entire grid, because it's a little bit insulting to not count Red Bull or anyone for next year. But obviously Hamilton's the best bet. But no one can now take away that title in effect technically, in terms of he's not there to defend the title, so no one's really taking it away from him. It's basically just as soon as the new season starts, the title basically just defaults and resets to NA. Yeah. No one has it at the moment.
You've got 22 drivers going for the World Championship.
Yeah, like Martin Brundle won't be saying there's the reigning world champion. It'll just be there's the 2015 world champion battling the Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull or something. So
yeah, I mean, the reason we say Hamilton is because he was Rosberg's rival for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, obviously,
and likely you think Mercedes will still be somewhat at the top next season. So just putting 2 and 2 together. But either way, I think it's an incredible decision he's made, and you have to respect that in the day, and I can totally understand. And now the question is, who will replace him? It's going to be interesting.
A lot of names. A lot of names in the hat, because apparently most of the grid, so I don't know. This is allegedly, because this is what Toto Wolff has said, but there's allegedly a lot of drivers wanting that Mercedes seat, and I'm not going to bloody blame them, because whoever was just in that seat before won the bloody World Championship, so you can't take it away from him. But before we actually predict, because we might predict world champions going into this seat, we might predict complete rookies, but at the end of the day, I almost get the feeling, though, that it's still going to be quite an interesting season, because Hamilton is so well knit into that team. He's going to be the heart of that team now. Obviously, he walked into it with Rosberg being already there for 2-3 years.
And he made it his own.
He made it his own. He had his own mechanics around him, and obviously there's been all this thing about moving mechanics around and everything. But it's going to be whoever does step into that seat has got some very, very big shoes to fill. And because this is talking about a world champion fighting against a 3-time world champion.
Yeah.
So it's going to be
Hamilton
very
said it in an interview that whoever he doesn't care necessarily who actually comes in in terms of the actual name, but whoever it is needs to understand that it's a very close-knit team, and once you're in the team, you're integrated into the Mercedes kind of life,
the family,
into the family, as it were. And I think he mentioned, still to this day, you've got people like Sterling Moss who are still part of the Mercedes family in a sense, and that is, like you said, it's a big shoe to fill, a big seat to fill, and it's going to be interesting no matter who it actually is, even if it is maybe someone who's not going to challenge Hamilton exactly. That's going to be a challenge in itself to see how whoever it is fares. But obviously Hamilton's not... He hasn't put his word in, but he's basically just said, I hope that it's someone equal that he can have a fight with. And I think that's probably what he needs as well, because I feel like, even though obviously Hamilton, I think he's good enough anyway to have a kind of second driver guy and still do the job and get the title if the Mercedes is the best car still. But he's that sort of racer who I feel, relishes being pushed a little bit.
Yeah, he relishes.
And he'll work better. He'll work even better than he does if he's got some challenge and some actual pressure. So Mercedes have got a lot of thinking. That's the biggest thing from this. Rosberg said, everything's clear for him. But the only regret he has is the fact that he's basically putting his team in a very, very tricky situation now, picking a driver who you would like to think theoretically is going to help them win the title next year.
I think logically there's two names I think that we're expecting, and those would be Valtteri Bottas and Pascal Wehrlein.
Those two are very
candidates.
linked.
Yeah. Well,
now, the reasons for Bottas convince me far more than the reasons for Wehrlein, but the Wehrlein one seems blatantly obvious.
Yeah, the Wehrlein seems more obvious.
I read an article, I think it was from like Will Buxton or something, and also I think Andrew Benson mentioned it as well, but it sort of goes like, it's like all makes sense. So essentially, if Bottas goes to Mercedes because of the Mercedes links, Williams would probably get Nasser, and he would go to Williams because he was there before. And then, because of Nasser being in Williams and staying in the sport, that means the Brazilian Grand Prix would stay on the calendar for next year. So that all ties in and makes perfect sense. Whereas Wehrlein is just a case of young Mercedes driver.
German Mercedes.
And with that first option, it's like you said, you get the kind of Brazilian tie. And I think, I can't remember who said it, but someone said that Eccleston will, you won't see him, like, it won't be probably reporters directly, but he'll have some sort of influence of trying to make sure that whatever happens, it trickles down in a nice, neat way, that it's basically going to be a plus for F1. Because if Mercedes don't get like I wouldn't say Bottas is a star driver necessarily, but if they don't get at least a driver the same caliber as Bottas or higher, it's a case of the whole commercial side just falls flat a little bit, because then you've got, everyone's, everyone pretty much is going to, pip Mercedes to still be fast out the box at least.
Yeah.
And so from a commercial side, it's all falls flat. Like, it's Hamilton versus, that driver.
Wehrlein, yeah.
So,
I've been speaking about, I spoke about this so many times in the podcast about Bottas, and I've always said that Bottas needs to hurry up now in Formula 1 because Massa wasn't giving him a challenge. So maybe going to Mercedes would be
the ultimate challenge.
It'd be like the ultimate challenge, because you're going up against a driver who is literally just missed out on the World Championship. He is fired. You can probably tell Hamilton's probably fired up and ready. I think the last time we properly saw that was maybe like 2011 when he had that bad season, and then 2012 he came back and he just proved, even though he got obviously like cheated out of a lot of race victories, he still came back and performed at probably the best he could have, and he made the most of the car. So, but in terms of who would fit the boot better, if you look at Wehrlein already, he is so integrated into that team already. He is a part of, like we said, the Mercedes family. He is a part of this connection, this whole little bubble that they're a part of. Whereas obviously Bottas would take a little bit longer to plug in. But okay, you've got to argue Wehrlein, he's got bags of talent underneath him. He's proved his worth by getting into Q2 quite a lot and also scoring points.
Yeah.
Although it's kind of up to that, but then I wouldn't mind Bottas going there either.
I think those two are the obvious ones, let's be honest. And then I think there's always like, option C, which is the unlikely one, but it could always happen where Mercedes just go, just do this, and say, right, so who do we fancy? Who do we fancy?
I like how you had that plan.
And we'll just, okay, we'll take him. Yeah, thank you very much. We'll just take him.
They are in a power where they could technically just do that. They could just be like, we've got enough. Come to us. So
okay, let's put some names on the board. Let's ignore all the realism. Names on the board. We'll
ridiculous names that could happen. Verstappen, Ricciardo, Alonso.
I could see Verstappen.
The thing is, most of the drivers we're about to mention are under contract, meaning a contract
would be a buyout.
Broken.
It would be a buyout. The Mercedes have to buy out.
So you think Max Verstappen, probably one of the most exciting young drivers on the grid. I doubt Red Bull, unless Mercedes pay him a bank. I really doubt they're going to try and let Verstappen go.
$5 billion.
On a bit more of a flip side, Ricciardo, obviously, that's not a long-lasting partnership, Ricciardo and Verstappen, because I think the moment that Red Bull become in a world championship position. I
those two are going to collide.
Championship. Yeah.
What if I've got a shout here? Someone like Carlos Sainz or Pierre Gasly.
I've seen Sainz be mentioned, and I've feared for Sainz's.
That's a cheap contract to buy.
That is,
and a promising driver.
And this is the scenario. What if in this hypothetical scenario, Sainz got signed up? That'll then open up a perfect seat for Gasly to come to Toro Rosso, and then it all falls into place like that.
Because what's Gasly going to do next year?
The main point about Gasly is just the fact that he ain't got a seat next year now. He's kind of a bit like what Van Dorn was. He's kind of like
exactly like.
What do I do now? Like I've completed GP2, completed it, mate. What now? Like, I'm ready for Formula One. That's what basically GP2 World Champions it basically means. But it'd be nice to see Sainz go to Mercedes because that'd be a very interesting move because we've always
we've said he's been underrated. The amount of performances he's pulled out the bag, wizardry this season in that crappy Toro Rosso with a Ferrari peasant engine. So it would be a case of, again, like Bottas, a huge challenge for him, but something that could make or break the career for him. Obviously it's a very out there thought. It'd be very, very out there, but
it's interesting at least.
Yeah, and the thing is that the Mercedes is just so big and they've got such a great seat that really anything is possible. Like they can throw any money or any influence to any of these drivers. So that's the crazy thing about it. But
if push came to shove, you can always call a certain ex-British F1 driver. Who recently retired.
But I can't believe this has actually been linked. To be honest, why would Jensen?
Come on now. I'm one of the biggest JB fans.
It would be tempting though.
I've supported him through thick and thin. The worst results possible. I still stood by him. That is not going to happen.
Of course not.
Why would that ever happen? He was so happy to leave the sport, even in the best car. I don't think that would ever happen.
Yeah, but if you're giving him all of a sudden the best car. What he's always wanted, he might just go.
There's no guarantee that it'll be the best car. Obviously,
Tom, I genuinely think he's
more than likely going to be.
I genuinely think he's.
But I do agree. He's done.
I think he's switched that part of his brain off now. Like he's actually really done with it.
I think he's done for now. I still believe he'll come back in.
You still believe? So you're more optimistic than me. Tom's more optimistic than me that all the stuff that Jensen said about it being his last one is bullshit, and that you think he might still do it if Alonso doesn't like the car.
Yeah, but 6 months is 6 to 12 months is a long time to change your.
Gonna mention?
View.
Oh yeah, this is away from the kind of actual transfer talk, but just a great bit of it was great banter from the two different parties, Verstappen and Mercedes on Twitter.
I did like that.
I loved that. It was great. Mercedes were firstly just basically tweeting out fake emails. Or I don't know, some of them might actually be genuine, but basically some emails of people emailing them supposedly for the driver's seat, and then Verstappen tweeted them saying, I sent over my application, and then they got into a bit of a thread where eventually Verstappen posted a picture of his phone of Toto Wolff ringing him with Toto's face there and saying, should I pick it up?
Could you imagine if I thought the Toto meme of everyone will fear Toto, and he's got. I think it's like a Spa race where he's got.
Oh yeah, the Spa. Yeah, I've still got that meme.
Could you imagine if he had that face in the background though?
Hello.
That would be great.
It's quite funny. I think we've also seen that with Alonso as well. I think we've had that. This is my phone, and this is like all the missed calls from Alonso. Actually, speaking of Alonso, obviously he's been linked heavily. Everyone's like, yeah, let's get Hamilton versus Alonso again. That. Fucking, if they thought Hamilton and Rosberg was an issue,
can you imagine
Hamilton and Alonso?
The snaky tactics that we've pulled by both of them, Jesus.
Well, they did it in 2007, never mind in 2016 when Hamilton was
you thought Hungary's bad. Imagine blocking someone in the Abu Dhabi pit lane.
Yeah.
In the tunnel.
Yeah. That would just be like that. Imagine just the uproar of that. That would be absolutely insane. But so probably Alonso more than likely not because he's under contract. Ricciardo more than likely not because he's under contract. Same with Verstappen. Vettel.
I don't think
been an interesting
he's under
one.
contract, and also I think he genuinely does want to do it with Ferrari. Yeah. I think he cares about doing it with Ferrari.
Rumours, though, apparently that the partnership at Ferrari is getting a little bit.
Yeah, that was a story there.
But the way that final race went. Nah, not feeling that vibe anymore.
Yeah, that and also the Mexico vibes of the personal relationship may not be there, but at least on a professional level, I think Vettel and Ribene are still very much fine because you could see it in that team radio.
I never thought. I just never thought for 1 second it was that bad.
To see Vettel go.
It would be crazy. Yeah. It would be crazy.
Because Hamilton versus Vettel has always been that one where we've been like,
It could be amazing, or it could be pretty boring.
Never see them like up against each other fully, like in a while.
Before, Mercedes present their car next year, Hamilton just arrives, and then this guy comes around the corner and he just goes, "What?" So
Raikkonen going. Raikkonen. I think Raikkonen.
I'm reunited with a Mercedes-engined car.
I don't think we can see Raikkonen going anywhere else for the rest of his career. To be honest, he'll see what 2017 cars are like. He'll probably piss off.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm surprised he's done as good as he has. He's the oldest driver on the grid, believe it or not. He's 37, going to 38.
We didn't mention it like hugely, but he's going to be there for the Ferrari. But he's done really, really, really top job. So he's going to be pinned there. So I don't think he's much of a talk point.
For some reason on this BBC article, there's Paul di Resta, which we can laugh at. I'm not sure why Paul di Resta's linked. They've rated the chances 5 out of 10. Can you
imagine the expert, enthusiastic analysis he'll give in practice sessions about the car?
It's just ridiculous. And then Nico Hulkenberg.
Whoever goes,
and Perez, we've seen them as well.
Whoever goes there, to be honest, I'm not going to lie. Like, I'll just enjoy seeing whoever it is. Just as an underdog, really. Like,
I don't think there's any driver where we wouldn't want them to be in that.
Whoever goes there, it's an exciting prospect. Just for the fact that it's something, at least for me personally, I don't know about you two, obviously, also, especially for Cal, because you support on the drivers, but it'll just be different to a Hamilton v Rosberg, Hamilton. It's just like, Sky, we get it. You've got a big boner over this rivalry.
That wasn't even a rivalry for me.
I think
the boners can just settle down.
They battled 2 times in 3 years on track. That's not a rivalry.
The boners can settle down.
I think in terms of the Drivers' Championship and everything. But to be fair, like obviously, speaking on behalf of that as a Hamilton fan, obviously Hamilton hasn't actually had that many teammates in Formula 1. He's had Alonso, Button, and Rosberg, and Kovalainen. Oops, almost missed him. But obviously he's gone up against Alonso. That was quite sticky. Went up against Button. They had a good working relationship, not on a personal level, but a good working relationship in which there was a lot of almost winning. So it'd be interesting to see how the dynamic works with whoever Hamilton works with next. Because if it's a world champion, I think it'd be a hell of a lot different to what a rookie is, such as when Kovalainen was given that big boost up in 2008 into McLaren. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. And I think the working relationship between, if it was Bottas, I think it'd be all right.
I think
Bottas is not the best personality or character.
But I think that's why, maybe. Because he's not like a character of sorts. So it'd just be a case of like...
He's just a Formula 1 driver.
Yeah, he would just... I feel like he would come to it with a very kind of kind approach. Like, okay, yeah, you're my new teammate. Let's go. But, I feel he'd be quite respectful of it. After all this talk about very exciting potentials... I don't know if you two agree with me, but I just feel like it's just going to end up being a very Mercedes choice and a very kind of safe, boring Mercedes choice of Pascal Wehrlein has become the new teammate of Lewis Hamilton. Breaking news. I just have that feeling in the back of my mind.
It's gonna be more than likely to be Wehrlein, I think. I don't think...
Yeah.
It's just the most obvious choice, and I don't think you can really argue much against it, to be honest.
I can picture Toto Wolff speaking now about him like he's already been in the Mercedes family, he's worked with us before, we're confident in his abilities, blah 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 blah, and there he is as a new teammate.
Well, it has panned out quite nicely with the fact that obviously Ocon went to Force India and Verline was sat there going,
it has.
Hey, now get another 6 months, and now Verline's going to walk into the room like,
hey Esteban, how you doing, mate?
How you doing, mate? Well, to be fair, if you're in Ocon's position, you're kind of like, oh, wait, I got one over my teammate, and then he's like, sorry, I'm just gonna go try and win the world championship next year. Just don't mind me, don't mind me at all. But I think overall, just to wrap up, maybe the Rosberg and Mercedes kind of
dilemma
shebang. Probably the shock of the season. I think we can all agree.
Yeah. It's a great way to end a season that has had a few of those little spark moments.
With Verstappen's win.
With Verstappen's win, that was probably like the shock of the season. And at the end of the day, the people that are trying to put down Rosberg and insulting not just him, but also his family as well.
Stop watching.
Just stop. Just please stop. I'm not
going
to throw we're not going to throw insults. We'll just say stop.
Yeah, I thought Verstappen fans were the new flavour of the month and the most annoying fan base, ATM. And then Hamilton fans have returned. They've just come right back to life with some arse-backwards stupid comments that they did not need to make.
I think we'd all like to see Rosberg versus Hamilton for another time, now that they've both got a world championship underneath the belt, and then they can go again, new regs, and let's see who else, who can win that battle again. And I think we could all agree that we'd like to see that again. It would have been cool. But
then again, also,
you've got to respect decisions.
Now looking back on it,
no, but Rosberg's scared of him. You see, he's actually scared.
Yeah. It might not have been that great. Looking back on it now, if he did continue on, because he literally does have this. You could tell in his voice, like he's completely like, yeah, I can't be arsed now. I've done it. I've ticked the box. There is no more box to tick. So yeah,
I've ticked one box.
Yeah,
and
but
that's what I need to do.
Yeah, I think that will do it for the talk. You got a lot of you guys were tweeting straight away on yesterday about wanting to know our three opinions and do a podcast on it. So we have brought as Tom put it, the podcast out of retirement as Rosberg went into retirement for a little extra episode just before. We are going to do a little Christmas thing, but as we're here, we might as well talk about a little bit of other news that it was worth mentioning maybe, and some people were tweeting us about the potential for a return of the French Grand Prix in 2018. Obviously, I didn't watch the sport back when they had the French Grand Prix in full swing, so you two, or really Tom, can take the floor about the French Grand Prix. It's a track that I don't really even know the layout of completely. So
it's a completely different track. The one they raced at before in Magny-Cours was it wasn't a great track for racing, but it was spectacular for like a hot lap.
It looked really nice.
It was an ultimate. It was the ultimate.
It's very technical
track.
Circuit.
Yeah, like if you hook a lap up, you're like, that was class. That felt brilliant. You watch that and you go, wow, because there was like corners where you had okay, you might recognise if you ever watched the video before, but it's towards the end of the lap like a chicane where on the TV they vanish and then they reappear coming over the chicane really fast. And like
heavy braking into a
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really satisfying to watch.
We're talking about not even the track that's coming to the calendar.
But Paul Ricard,
I've only driven it on Ferrari Challenge on the Wii. That's all I've done. So
I've seen
I don't really know the layout
in testing.
At all. Yeah, we've seen it in testing. Obviously, the drivers will know it because of some drivers will know it. Probably the Red Bull drivers, Mercedes, or Hamilton.
If it's going to replace a crap Grand Prix, I wouldn't mind it. It's like,
Well, they're replacing the German Grand Prix. That's the thing.
Technically, they would be
one European for another.
Technically, I really hope it comes back in 2018, though.
The track doesn't fill me with immense promise. All the GT series race around there, but it's just a bit of it's like a narrow track. A lot of chicanes.
What F1 needs.
And there's a lot of flowing long corners, which in dirty air is just not gonna.
Oh yeah,
work.
The new cars love that.
So
I think we can only make our judgment until we see the race.
But on paper, it's not. It's not a it's not designed for
that'd be quite
overtaking.
cool. I mean, I
love going back to France.
I've never seen a French Grand Prix, so it would be quite cool. Yeah. And also, the location would be quite cool. Like, it could, because it's so, obviously France being so near to us, it could be
a spiritual home
kind of place.
It's one of those tracks that has racing traditionally, so it's always good to go. I mean, the French Grand Prix was never at Magny-Cours before when it was there. It was another track. I think they did race at Paul Ricard years ago, or it was another track. Either way, they've raced at now 3 different tracks in France now by 2018 it rolls around. And this deal is pretty much done except for the signature on the dotted line.
Right,
so,
okay.
It sort of came out of nowhere, really, just yesterday as a whole, really. So
we didn't hear any rumours throughout the entire season. Then there was Paul Ricard, we should race there. Yeah,
I'm just a touch concerned. By 2018, they wanted to say we want to try and use only 3 engines a season, and then you look at McLaren, who used up to 9 elements this season, and then if you include France and Germany back on the calendar for 2018, you've got 22 tracks, and if they race at Las Vegas, they've got 23.
Yeah.
Are you dizzy? Are you mad?
Penalties galore.
The provisional calendar next year, I think, is 20 races.
Pretty much confirmed, with the exception of Brazil.
Brazil's kind of a bit all over the place, but we'll find out if Felipe Nasr manages to make it.
Honestly, I think that's a perfect length. 20 or 19, I think that's a good length. We don't need any more. Otherwise, it's so many. I
think Brazil will still stay on the calendar no matter what. Also, that's a shout. Singapore is next year's race is the last one in Singapore.
And Malaysia. Malaysia's going next season?
Yeah, as well. Actually, that's a good shout.
Malaysia going?
It's Singapore as well, because Singapore, the track designer or the person who hosts the race says they don't want it anymore. They don't want Formula 1 as a sport in the country. So next year, that's the last year of the contract. So when that runs out, it's gone.
We're going to lose 2 circuits
Malaysia's going to become MotoGP specific. So yeah, we could lose 2, which means Germany, France, and
Vegas or something, or another USA circuit.
After the 2018 season, that's when Malaysia's set to go.
Okay, so we'll only lose.
We've still got
obviously, because they've still got a contract there, but they just don't. But that's
the numbers aren't there.
I think in terms of just worldwide marketing, that's going to be a big hit. Obviously, going from that part of the world where you're losing from Malaysia and Singapore as well, 2 races which have always been, interesting. I'm not going to cry if they go, but
there have been some good
in order to allow new ones back in.
Both circuits, so
we like to see a little bit of a change in the calendar.
Let's be honest here. It's not like Malaysia defined the 2016 or anything, 2016 season or anything.
It's quite true.
No, Malaysia's been a good track. I don't hate it, to be fair. I don't mind the track layout. It's a decent track, and it's a great moment.
And the thing is, with the monsoon,
the white visor,
some crazy scenes.
Points for the only time ever, I think, in history.
It's given us good racing as well.
2012.
2012 was a great
Ricardo
race.
going side by side in the entire middle sector. You've got the other Red Bulls of Vettel, Webber going at it.
It's had some good moments.
The very first race that was there, that was the race in 1999 where Michael Schumacher came back from a broken leg and managed to, he was going to win the race, but because his teammate was fighting for the championship, he gave him the win, but he was going to win in his return race. There's been moments there, really good moments. I remember the 2001 race, I didn't watch it, this is me watching it back now.
Is that when the monsoon was?
Literally, lap 1, dry tyres, later that lap, all hell broke loose. Everyone's going everywhere off the track. If you get a chance to watch it, watch that first 1.5 laps. And there's people who stayed out even more than a lap. And when they're on the second lap round, they are literally going so slow. It's unbelievable. Everyone's trying to get intermediates and wets, just trying to get everything all onto the car. And it's they're putting on 2 inters at the front, wets at the rear. It's had some good moments of track. I've got to say, Alonso got his first win there ever, I think, as a driver.
I think so, yeah.
So it has had its moments.
I think the thing is, just sum up the calendar, the thing is, as much as we like to see these tracks that are going above and beyond Europe, we still need to keep a hold of these European tracks. And even if that does mean switching a German for a French, just moving next door, basically, I think we can take that. And to be fair, the German Grand Prix hasn't been amazing recently. I think that Hockenheim has always given a decent race. Nürburgring, the last race they did there.
I feel it's still a shame not to have a German Grand Prix with a German champion, but also the numbers just don't back that Grand Prix up. They had a German champion this year. They had a previous quadruple German champion, And Germans,
the last 7 years,
and Germans just didn't turn out to the race. They didn't want to watch it anymore.
Well, no, they only turned up to the race. Like, the race was packed, but Friday, Saturday was just not a soul.
The numbers are just not there. So
but it was expensive. That's the thing. It's not the fans don't want to turn up.
Yeah.
It's just expensive.
I think it's just German fans, to be honest. I think they've been washed by Michael Schumacher. I think that's what it was. I think there was so many Schumacher fans.
You need to look at the pricing of the event. It's ludicrous.
And also the pricing.
Yeah, the pricing is I think that's the biggest issue, to be honest, for a lot of circuits these days. Just the pricing is just a bit crazy.
But if you put yourself in their position shoes, being a Formula 1 fan, you can't easily interchange between, as much as like if I was at the British Grand Prix and I saw obviously like Button went past, like Hamilton, way Button, go on lad. It's kind of, I think it was kind of the same thing for that. It was the fact that because in the past 7 years we've had 2 German world champions, obviously with Vettel and Rosberg, and then you've also had different drivers such as like Timo Glock randomly coming on the grid. Then you have like Schumacher as well, because I think there was 1 year where there was four German drivers, I think. So they've always been that interchangeability. So I don't think the fans have been able to set their eye on one specific driver, especially. Yeah,
but that makes it sound like it's been a recent track, but that track's been on the calendar since the 50s. And it's always filled out.
Yeah.
So
it's only a recent decline, really.
Or more than that. So it's must have filled its grandstands.
And also that's when all the prices start going up. Like only recently, it's gone really extortionately high.
Because it's hard to maintain a single race there.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one, but I guess not much anyone can really do about it. So yeah, but that's sort of the calendar talk. So we'll still have the good old classics to look forward to in the calendar, and there may be some outlying circuits that do change location, but there's still the kind of core tracks, I would say, in a sense.
I would love to go to like South Africa or something someday. That'd be a nice place to go.
I think that'd be quite cool.
A very different audience, different location, vibe, just as a whole.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So I used to race there anyway,
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we'll leave it then. So, guys, if you have enjoyed it, hit that like button. Also, we're thinking of maybe doing one podcast, not like a huge one, but like a smaller sort of podcast where we answer questions you guys might have. There's been, throughout the year, you guys have maybe like asked us questions, and we may or may not like answer them in the next podcast, but let us know in the comments below if that's something you maybe want to do, like actually ask us direct questions you want to get like a specific answer on from like, any one of the three of us, all three of us together, because obviously there's a kind of nice dynamic here of Tom being an older F1 fan, Cal being sort of midway, and then I'm just about a little bit like 1 year or 2 years newer than Cal, and then obviously all three of us have supported different drivers. 2 of us now don't have a driver in the sport now, and Cal still has the main man of the sport in the championship, and then obviously
it's okay, just
Yeah, I'm just tearing up.
Yeah.
And we've all we've all supported different teams and have had contrasting opinions. So
we're the most contrasting 3 F1 fans ever.
So let us know if you do want to have specific answers to any questions, any burning questions, and if you want to see that podcast happen, that will be in an addition to kind of all year review podcast. That's definitely happening because that's something
Christmas
from quite.
Special.
Something from quite early on from the season you guys have definitely wanted to see. So we are definitely going to do that. But if you have enjoyed this one, leave a like. Let us know what you thought in the comments below. And you're interested to subscribe to this channel for the podcast. These 2 and myself, links in the description. Check the Twitters out above our names. We'll see you guys next time. But that was the podcast where Rosberg retired and we came out of retirement. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.